And now we are welcoming for the first time, honestly, in many months here on the streaming show, the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, would you look at this early morning? For him, it's early morning, getting up and joining us on the streaming show. Richard Saez, buddy, how are you?
Oh my gosh, it's my lucky week. I am playing the Powerball tonight because I got to see Richard yesterday in person and get a hug. And now we're seeing each other today here. Hi, Richard.
How about,
2 weeks in a row. I think I should play the lotto too. I'm winning. That's what you call winning, right?
Yeah.
It's great to see you guys. I missed you guys, and it's gonna be fun to talk some sports with you guys.
Yeah, we need to every so often, that's for sure. And we know you live some crazy hours, but there's just so much going on. And I'm going to pop it right up. We're going to just jump right. Oh, hold on here. I need my graphics of the playoffs, you guys. Let's see. That is going to be graphic one is, no, that's the from before. We're going to work on that. We're going to get the graphic. But the decision was made on Sunday, Richard.
Right.
Who was going to? There we go.
See it now.
Okay, and there it is.
And I see no Notre Dame there.
No kidding. And so do millions of Irish fans as well. How did this committee come to this decision? And is Notre Dame's, frankly, kind of anger at the whole situation understandable?
I think every year there's a program, there's a school that's saying, wow, we got left out. And it even happens in the NCAA tournament. You saw them extend the number of teams that get into the big dance. And I think this time it was Notre Dame. And I can see why, they lost to Miami. Yes, it was the beginning of the year. They regrouped after that. But when you look at the head-to-head matchups, Miami and Notre Dame have the same record. Miami beat them. So if Notre Dame gets in and Miami doesn't, then you're thinking, well, what about Miami? So there's always going to be somebody, that's not going to be happy. And that's just the way it is. But it's nice to see some fresh blood in the playoffs this year.
But I got to ask, because Notre Dame was ranked higher by these very same people. They fly in every week to the Gaylord Hotel in Grapevine, Texas. I'm sure they got a great buffet. They sit there, they meet, they look at tape, they kibitz about football. Sounds to me like a dream job, as a matter of fact.
Sounds like a vacation.
Week after week, Notre Dame is ranked higher. So you're the Irish, and you're like, we're in. And then the very last Sunday comes, and they're like, now we're out? Why didn't they handle it better?
You're exactly right, and that's why Notre Dame is so upset. And then you kind of, touched on it. Notre Dame compounds the issue by saying, well, we're not going to go to any bowl game now, which I don't know if that's the correct solution or the way to get their message across. I kind of understand what they're saying, but boy, that's a bad look. For all of college football, because it's unfortunate, because I'm sure there's a lot of fans that would like to see Notre Dame play one more time. Granted, it wouldn't be in the college football playoffs, but still, it'd be a good bowl game. And even for the players that want to play and put something on tape to try to take their game to the next level.
Well, Des, that's a really good point. Let's think about the seniors for a minute. I don't know who exactly, I'm sure there were certain people on the team, along with the coaching staff, were like, okay, we're going to take our ball and go home. But think about the seniors who thought, because their last game was 2 weeks ago. They didn't have a championship. At least we got one more game to put on the pads, put on the helmet, and play one last game of football. Now that's been taken away from them.
Yeah, I mean, how did they come to the decision? I would hope that the coaches, maybe that was the meetings. The coaches just sat down and asked the seniors, but because that's a big sacrifice to make. If this is your last year, that would have been your last game.
Yeah, it definitely had to go all the way up the chain, because it's not only a lost opportunity for these players, but, a lost, opportunity to gain more fans, to get more revenue for the program, all that stuff. So that was a major decision. That's something that's unprecedented. And maybe it's something like this that has to happen for college football to say, okay, let's rethink this. Let's look it over. And that's, what a lot of people are saying about a lot of different facets in college athletics, whether it's the NIL, the transfer portal. It seems to be the wild, wild west right now. We need some kind of structure in all those facets.
Well, I can't wait to give us about another minute, and we can talk about one of the plans that's out there. And I want to get from you whether you think it would work or wouldn't work, the pros and cons. But before we get to that, I believe it was the AD at Notre Dame, Richard, who said that our relationship with the ACC, because they were like, boot the Irish, we want Miami. The phrase I believe he used was irreparably damaged.
Right.
Is there a chance that really comes to an end and Notre Dame maybe, like many have speculated for a long time, will finally start to, whether they stay independent or not, at least start to embrace the Big Ten?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a major blow, and I think the reaction of Notre Dame is proof of that. But then again, a lot of people look at Notre Dame like, look, pick a conference already. You've been independent for so long, and you just kind of want to do what you do, but you got to be part of a structure if you want to be a part of the system at the same time.
All right, so let's talk about it. I happen to like the Tony Petitti model, which is, instead of letting this committee, I'm sure they're great people, but I understand Notre Dame's how upset they are because they're like, hey, it's week 5, you're above Miami. It's week 6, you're above you're always above Miami until the last week. So Tony Petitti at the Big Ten said, instead of this committee, these people who change every year, we're just going to settle it on the field. 1 will play 2. 3 plays 6 in the Big Ten, also in the Big 12, also in the SEC, and then 4 plays 5. So 1 and 2 are in, and the winner of the other championship weekend games, 3 versus 6, which would have been something like Oregon versus maybe Michigan or something, and then 4 plays 5. So you settle it on the field and you get your 4 automatic entries. Can that system work? What are the pros? What are the cons?
It makes way too much sense, Ron. There wouldn't be any controversy.
Richard.
How dare you make sense of this so quickly?
Right?
Richard's like, what else would we talk about?
Well, what is the holdup? Why aren't they doing it?
Yeah, and it's like I was kind of touching on, there's so many different things in college athletics right now that don't make sense, and it could be simplified, like NIL, right? Where at least the NFL has a salary cap, the transfer portal, at least they have some free agency structure in the NFL and pro sports. At least now they're starting to close the windows of the transfer portal, make it one window, making one opportunity for a kid to transfer. But when this all happened, it just seemed like they just said, let's just do it. And it was almost like there was no planning. And then you got people, with the plan you just mentioned, said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't we go with that, or at least have an open and honest conversation about it?
What if Des and I were to pin you down right now, because they extended the deadline, it was supposed to be done December 1st, now it's got pushed into January. Do they go back next year to a 12 team, to a 16 team, or do they go with the Tony Petitti model of automatic qualifiers and you go all the way to 24?
I think they're going to go to a version of the Tony Petitti model, maybe 20, and it's going to get bigger and bigger each year, like the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to have to continue to adjust. It's a work in progress, as they say, and each year, hopefully, it gets better till they finally get it to, somewhat perfection. But I think every year, look at the NCAA tournament. I keep going back to that. Every year, there's somebody that says, hey, we should have got in, and now they even having playing games in that tournament. So I think every year they're going to have somebody to say, man, we should have been there. And I honestly think college athletics, the NCAA, likes it that way because, look, here we are days later after Selection Sunday, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah, it's a really good point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Sam Levitt. I think that sent shockwaves, honestly, Des, through the whole valley. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal of it, Richard. But I think a lot of people think he's out of here. But don't you show up for your team banquet at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think it was a really weird weekend for Sun Devil Nation. A lot of people were really concerned. We got wind of Sam Levitt wanting to enter the transfer portal weeks ago, but we were like, look, the window doesn't open until January 2nd. It's a 15-day window, and he'll have that much time to commit to a new school, whoever enters the transfer portal. And one thing Kenny Dillingham has always said since day one, regardless of the player and the level of talent the player has, if they want to get in the transfer portal, by all means do it. I wish you the best of luck. And a lot of times when they'll announce they're going in the transfer portal, Kenny Dillingham will retweet that kid's tweet saying he's going to be a baller somewhere. This kid can play. And I think that's really admirable of Kenny Dillingham. And if you're a kid wanting to play college football and you see a coach support you even though you're not going to help him directly, that says a lot about who he is. And even Sam Levitt was still showing up to every practice, was showing up to, when he didn't have to. And for him to not show up to the football banquet on Sunday, that may, raise a major red flag. And then, of course, now, the hot topic is Sam Levitt will enter the transfer portal on January 2nd. And, it's unfortunate because he had such a great run here, and I think he really grew as a person and as a player here. And, I guess he thinks, look, I only got one more year to get my NFL resume up to speed, and if I could go somewhere that maybe has a better O-line or a better offensive system that can, put me in better positions to succeed, then maybe I should do that. And that's his prerogative, right? That's his, this decision, and he has, every right to do that. And Kenny Dillingham has supported that from day one, and even said yesterday, look, I'm gonna leave it up to him to decide and announce, when he'll enter the transfer portal, probably be on the 2nd, but we support him either way. And Kenny Dillingham had a little bit of a smirk on his face. He said, don't worry, we're going to have a good quarterback here next year, no matter what. And he's right, because if you're a high school quarterback or even a college quarterback that thinks you can play and you're not getting a chance to play at the school you're at now, you want to come play for Kenny Dillingham when you see what he's done with Jeff Sims and Sam Levitt.
Yeah, and he's got to be thinking about his future ultimately. So, hey,
yes.
We wish him the best. Richard, always good seeing you, buddy.